Hey, what's up? I'm Darkbblue, trying to help everyone enjoy games in depth. This video won't tell you the correct answer to Elden Ring Nightreign. Instead, it's about a roadmap to find out the correct answer. Together, you can pursue it along with me. First of all, what is Nightreign? It's basically roguelike elements mixed with Souls-like combat mechanics. But it's not a typical level-based roguelike like Hades, but more like Ravenswatch, where you can freely explore an open map within a limited time. So, based on this definition of Nightreign, here are the three aspects for learning this game: in-run progression, combat skills, and meta progression. In-run progression is the first thing to learn because it's very important. A well-progressed character can significantly reduce the difficulty, allowing you to beat the game even if your combat skill and meta progression are not well polished. After in-game progression, the next to learn, I believe, is combat skills. This is a Souls game after all. And in Souls games, it's more important to learn your enemies than yourself, and it's more important to make good decisions than to make fancy moves. These are what to learn in this game. Meta progression is the last aspect to learn. Obviously, it's so random that it takes a lot of time to accumulate enough information for us to fully understand this mechanic. So that's my roadmap: in-run progression first, then combat skills, and meta progression at last. Next, let's talk about my plan to learn in-run progression in detail. There are three things we need to know. What aspects of the character can be progressed? In what order should they be progressed? And through what events can they be progressed, such as churches for flux upgradation and sorcerer's rites for talisman and stuffs. The first and the last things are pure labor intensity stuff, so I believe the wiki will do it for us. Now I'll only detail the second thing next. Currently, I've got three principles in mind. Not that they are definitely correct, just take them as a reference. So first, do only what you are capable of. Don't fight enemies too strong for you. For example, don't fight the strong field bosses on the first day. Second, do the most rewarding. For example, minor camps are no longer suitable for the second day as they are way less rewarding. Third, nearest first. Different targets in the same stage should be accomplished in the order from the nearest to the farthest. This can reduce the time you spend running. I will validate these principles in my future play and make them into more concrete rules in a new video. Next, I'll talk about my plan to learn the combat part. So the core combat principle of the base Elden Ring game is to look for specific rather than generic solutions given each enemy you'll be fighting next. And each solution is dependent on certain gears. So it's suboptimal to play only one weapon, one skill, or one spell in the base Elden Ring game. Instead, you need to prepare a lot of weapons, skills, and spells, always looking for the most suitable one. This principle, I believe, also applies to Nightreign to some extent, so I will try to explore the possibility to collect and use multiple weapons, and if it can reduce the difficulty. Next, I have summarized the combat of Elden Ring in my previous videos into three pillar combat styles and two extra factors. The three pillars are interactive combat that focuses on dodging and counterattacking, controlling combat that exploits stim mechanics to keep enemies controlled, and stat stacking combat that tries to outlevel your enemies with buffs. The two extra factors are special weaknesses of certain enemies and the ability to fight in complex situations such as AoE or ranged attack. This whole picture might still apply to Nightreign, but each of their actual meaning may change a bit. First of all, the meaning of weakness may change. In the base game, examples are Ghost Skin bosses being weak to sleep and Royal Revenants being weak to healing incantations. But since the gears you can get in Nightreign are randomized, it's hard to exploit these weaknesses, suppose they still exist. However, you can notice that there's an icon at the corner of the Night Lord's avatar when you start the run, indicating its weakness. For example, the three-headed beast can be weak to holy damage. This is the weakness you need to exploit in Nightreign. Next, the ability of fight in complex situations is still important. As you can see, it's very common that you need to fight a large group of enemies, including ranged ones in this game. So if you have ranged ability or AoE ability, such fights will be made easy. For example, the perfumers tend to backstab and do ranged attacks, so it'll be easier for you if you have ranged ability as well. Having and not having such ability can make a huge difference. The meaning of stat stacking will also change. In the base game, it's mainly about how to stack a lot of buffs without making them conflict with each other. But in Nightreign, buffs are simplified and randomized, so I believe we need to turn to the following three concepts. First, use consumables actively. 2. Gather passives. And 3. Grab weapons with a buff skill or spell when it's possible. As you can see, there are mainly some simple strategies that you can easily conduct once you know them. Such simplicity is why I put stat stacking at the first in the three pillars. After that, the second pillar to consider is controlling combat. There are mainly two ways to stun enemies in Elden Ring. For easily staggerable enemies, you can exploit the damage level mechanic as well as status proc interruption. For enemies that are not easily staggerable, you should instead make use of the stance mechanic and scripted moves. You might find these things a bit hard to understand as there are many, strange terminologies. This is why it's put after stat stacking. You need to learn much additional knowledge to fully understand this combat style. Concretely, I believe damage level and status proc are more important in Nightreign, as it can significantly reduce the difficulty of easily staggerable enemies. For example, there are 2 omens before the Foul Omen boss is summoned. If you use moves with damage level rank 2 or even rank 1, they will feel almost like tough bosses since you cannot stagger them and have to interact with them instead. But if you are well aware of the damage level mechanic, you will know that damage level rank 3 moves can stagger omens as long as they are not using some few certain attacks. This knowledge will make the fight much easier. As a result, I believe it's necessary to gather a weapon with at least damage level rank 3. In comparison, stuns and scripted moves are, only one way to fight strong enemies. You can also choose to use fast and flexible weapons to interact with them. Furthermore, your character skills can also create huge amount of stun damage. Considering these factors, it's not mandatory to gather weapons with high stun damage. Among the 3 pillars, interactive combat is the hardest to learn in Nightreign. Apparently, you need to learn the moves of bosses, which is now made very difficult by the roguelike nature of Nightreign. Random bosses are not guaranteed to be encountered in the next run, and to face Night Lords, you need to first finish a run of 30 minutes. This is why I believe it should be learned at last. So the problem is how to make learning easier. The first way is to record the fight and watch the clip to learn. The second is to look for moveset breakdown guides in the community. After solving the practicing problem, now let's analyze how the interactive combat might be different from that in the base game. So in the base game, interactive combat can be divided into understanding the combo rules of bosses and choosing a suitable interaction tool. Interaction tool can be further divided into gear-dependent ones such as Raven Feather and Bloodhound Step, and gear-independent ones such as Strafe and Jumping. As gears are random in Nightreign, we cannot rely too much on gear-dependent interaction tools. Therefore, it's better to focus on gear-independent ones. It's important to learn how to strafe. It can make dodging easier as long as you know how to strafe. As for how to know how to strafe, retrospectively, refer to how I plan to make practicing easier. Moreover, I believe there are 3 new interaction tools introduced in Nightreign: double jump on the boss to evade low stance attacks, super sprint, and a long Nightreign window when using character skills. I predict that the 3 new tools are going to be very important. In the last, I also need to mention that we need to make use of character skills in Nightreign, which is a new mechanic introduced in this game. This also needs some learning. Thus, this huge bunch is my roadmap to learn the combat skills in Nightreign. As for meta progression, I don't have much to say right now. It requires more time and investigation. So that's the whole picture of my personal learning roadmap to master Nightreign. Hope both of us can successfully master this game. If you want to play games into depth together with me, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, see you around.